Hello, John. Welcome to another Eat Sleep Code, the official Telerik podcast. How are you, my friend?
I'm well. I hope everyone else out there is doing well as well. As well as well. Lots of wells.
This is the show where we grab fun, interesting articles about tech and software dev from around the web
Hmm.
and give our humble opinions on those things.
Or not so
And
humble.
as you know, John, I have a bias towards AR and VR and XR and all of those things. So I've got quite a few articles here today that have to deal with this. So um, let's get started. Let me see if I can get my screen share working. There we go. Trying out a little bit of a new setup today. So this is a post that I saw. I think this is a mock-up. I don't know if this is a real thing yet, but this is an AR VR controller for the Nintendo Switch. And
This looks like a Wii
this,
controller.
yeah, so it's a Switch. Like the Nintendo Switch has these controllers that you can kind of pop off the sides of the unit.
Hmm.
And this one has cameras on it, both front facing and rear facing camera.
Okay.
So that would enable the Switch to have camera lenses where it could do like Pokemon Go style gaming just by adding this, attachment. And Nintendo's known for building like add-ons for their what do you call it? Their systems. Like there's always been like these attachments. There was the Wii Fit, like the exercise thing that they produced years ago. They have an AR game already that you have like a go-kart. We talked about it on the show a while back, and it's a Mario. What's it called? Mario Kart game that you physically drive a remote control car around, and it has cameras on it. So it'd be really neat to see an attachment like this turn the, what is it, 3 or 4 year old Nintendo Switch into a modern AR experience. I think that would be pretty neat. It's the right platform for it. We're talking about a gaming device, so it's not like it's hacking your face or attaching to something else that wouldn't expect to have this experience on. So I think this is a neat idea.
Now, is this a real idea? Like, I mean, is it a real product, or like is Nintendo building this? Because my understanding was that this was originally a design competition that went around this thing. And is Nintendo bringing this to market?
Not that I'm aware of. It looks like this is exactly what you said. It's like a design
Mm,
concept.
okay.
So it's probably a 3D render here, but it's I don't know. I don't even know if Nintendo has inputs from
Hmm.
the controller connections on the side, or if they're just charging capabilities.
Yeah.
But
They look like
if this was
slots to,
something,
yeah.
yeah,
So my take on this initially is that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know how they're going to use those. Like the designer, I get, this is typically how designers operate, is they make it look cool. And
Mhm.
but I think the challenge here is how does this map to an AR VR environment? Why would you have cameras like this? That lens looks awfully big to me. I don't think you need a lens that big, to be honest. Does this incorporate LiDAR, for example? Is it, these are some of the questions that designers tend to like hand wave past. They're like, no, 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 it looks cool. Don't worry about it. We'll worry about
It's
that
the
when we go in.
future.
It's like, yes, I know. So it's one of those things where it's like, no, this is very important. So I have questions, but whatever. This looks neat.
Well,
Neat idea.
you have to remember that Nintendo owns the IP for Pokemon, and it is the one that is licensing Pokemon Go. And
Okay.
if you could bring Pokemon Go to a dedicated gaming device rather than play it on just your mobile phone, I think that that kind of game would be a big win. People would buy this dongle attachment just to get the latest Pokemon game. to be honest. And I know how big a fan
I don't
base
see
the
it.
Pokemon
I
crowd
don't. I
is.
don't see it.
They did the
But
same
whatever.
thing with the Mario Kart thing that we showed before. Do you remember that? I'll try to bring it up for. And this is a real thing. I don't remember what the name of it is. It's actually Kart with a K. Live Circuit, is that the one? So this is a real product.
Yes.
That's fully baked. You can buy it. It's been in stores since I think Christmas.
Yes.
And you physically, put these cars in your house, and they have a camera on them, and you can race around in your house, and it overlays it on your console so you can see from the camera's point of view in an AR experience. So I
Yes.
could see
This
an
idea makes
attachment.
sense. This idea makes
Yeah.
sense. Yes, but an
If there's
attachment that
if
is
there's a
only
game bundle with
okay.
this controller, I can totally see people buying into it.
These
They've bought
these
into
ideas are
lesser
meant to
experiences.
these ideas are meant to turn devices like the Nintendo Switch into an AR VR platform for designers and game developers to creators. Basically, they are providing the platform for creators basically to build their next big idea on. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening this way. I think that that accessory looks expensive from a hardware is notoriously expensive from a revenue generation perspective. Cameras are getting smaller, yes, but that looks like an expensive addition. But
I'd say it
whatever.
probably wouldn't be any more expensive than the carts that you have to buy for that game. I think they're
True,
it's like
true,
100
but
something.
I can see. Well, whatever. I mean, yeah, Anyways, whatever. Interesting.
The Mario Kart thing I don't think hit with rave reviews, so I don't know.
Okay.
And the other thing it has maybe going against it here is the Pokemon Go thing is already on your phone. If it would have been something that didn't already ship to other devices, then it could have been
Yep.
like the flagship device to get to play it. I think
Mhm.
that might have maybe sealed the deal on this already, but who knows?
Okay.
This was another fun one, John. I know you like The Simpsons, so I thought you might get a kick out of this. This is another one of those artists assisting or the AI assisting artists type of things. So, along with some AI eye trickery in the hand of an artist, they have used some machine learning to generate realistic faces from cartoons. So, this is not a real person on the right. This is a
I
generated
know.
photograph.
Mo Sislak, yes.
Yeah. So, if Mo was a real person, this is what the AI and the artist think he would look like. They did various Disney characters. I thought this was pretty interesting. The Up guy looks pretty accurate to me. You got another Simpson there with the Millhouse.
Millhouse.
I'm trying to remember what Pixar movie that one was.
I think that one was called Life.
Was it literally called Life?
Yes, I believe it was.
Yeah, we got olive oil. Some more Disney princesses. The Smithers looks pretty spot on, if you ask me.
That's Ned Flanders, not Smithers.
Or Ned, that's what I meant. Ned.
Yep.
They had another one of these they did with like Roman statues that I thought was pretty interesting.
Okay.
We're seeing a lot of this kind of thing happening. I think that's pretty cool with the AI assisted art. Speaking of gaming and Simpsons, John, somebody spent quite a bit of time here, 7 months in Minecraft building the Simpsons Springfield. So yeah, people spend just crazy amounts of time on these map builds on Minecraft and other platforms. So the metaverse expands. Maybe Minecraft's the metaverse after all. This is where we're all going to be spending quality time.
The problem is, the difference there is you don't have something attached to your head.
Yet.
Why? You don't need it.
You don't. They tried like some proof of concept stuff with the HoloLens, I never
Hmm.
did actually see in person. It's always
Right.
been like a demoware thing, but nobody's ever laid hands on it. And there is like a Minecraft AR game, isn't there? Did that ever come out? I haven't quite followed that one. But there was
No
supposed to
idea.
be like Minecraft Earth or something like that, where it was like a
Yeah.
Pokemon Go style game where you would uh, pull out your phone and Minecraft appears in front of you instead of having to play it on a PC or something. But
Neat.
all of this is just cannon fodder for me to announce that we have Telerik UI for Unity and XR.
Ah, there you go.
So if you are a developer of uh, VR experiences and you want to get some easy kind of accessories to go into your software to make things speed up your dev time, we have started building components that you can purchase in Unity's marketplace.
Okay.
So some of the first things that we have here to offer are pretty cool. So I'm assuming you've done some AR or some VR experiences before,
Oh yeah.
John, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this one is called Telerik XR Motions.
Hmm.
And what this does is if you're in a VR, like a default, like Unity VR experience, locomotion is just basically your feet. Like you have to walk around. Um, that limits you to a very small play area within the game because it's bound by your physical boundary limitations. So, however
Okay.
big your room is, that's as far as you'll be able to walk around the scene. So, what a lot of video games do, and if you're building something that's for business and not a video game, you'll still need this type of tool. You press the stick on your controller, and it'll kind of like beam like a pathway with a circle on the floor, so you kind of teleport or navigate to that area. So it's
Right.
kind of like a teleportation thing. You can smooth that motion. You can set different settings for people's needs based on like what makes them motion sick or not. Like some people,
Mm.
including myself, if you have too slow of a transition between those 2 points, it makes me feel off balance. So I always have mine on like instant teleport. But this sets up kind of the user experience for you. You press the control stick, it shoots out the beam, shows you where you're going to land. That's kind of a pre-packaged component there. There's some other like more UI type of interactions.
Okay.
Like tooltips and pointers and touch surface stuff. Hands, because you got to have hands. Those things, some of this stuff
Important.
comes out of the box. Like you do get like the Oculus controller model. I don't have one on my desk here right now, but you do get the model for the controller, but it doesn't have a hand. And what you might want to do is take the hands and disappear those, or sorry, the controllers, disappear those away and just have your hands there for the player to work with. So you don't have to sit there and draw hands every time you develop a new experience. You've got those out of the box. Hand tracking and hand gestures. There's some stuff built in, but we've got additional hand gestures. And these are, oops, I need to go into that link. We've got different packages here, so you can buy exactly what you want, or you can bundle these together as well. And then there's a UI system here with a canvas. So buttons, drop downs, inputs,
Yep.
the things that you would expect from Telerik, quite frankly. Those things are in there as well. And again, they're all like packaged separately, so you can grab just what you need. And we have a there's the bundle. You bundle those all together and buy them together as well. So this is
Nice.
a new frontier for us, but it's
Yes.
something that we've been working on for quite a while, and it's really exciting stuff. We've been working close with Unity on this, and there isn't anything really in the marketplace like this yet. So we're kind of first to market with this, and we're excited to see what you'll do with it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's there's a wonderful team working on that stuff, and they've been doing a lot of R&D in that space, and they're fantastically brilliant people. John, um, we've got some improved developer experience for Dependabot alerts with GitHub. I
Yes.
know you're a big fan of GitHub. What's going on here?
So Dependabot is a very much loved tool by folks who post code to GitHub. It will go through basically your dependencies and let you know, hey, this is out of date, this has a security vulnerability, et cetera, et cetera. And so Dependabot is really, really good at keeping your dependencies up to date, and it will auto generate for you pull requests to automatically update your dependency files. So if in the case of an npm project, that's something, an update in package.json. If it's a CS proj file, we'll update it there. If it's a go.mod, et cetera, et cetera. So what they've done is they've recently added some additional features to Dependabot to make it a little bit more usable within GitHub. So more descriptive errors, better workflows associated with that. If you don't have this enabled, you can turn it on very simply. Just go into your project settings and you can turn on with a checkbox. There are other capabilities you can enable there as well. Enabling code QL static analysis is another example of that. But basically what they've done is they've put all the alerts into this section called Dependabot Alerts now. And that allows you to easily, triage those alerts and fix them if necessary. So Dependabot's great little facility, definitely worth checking out.
I think those used to come up directly in pull requests.
Well,
So
they
it
will
sounds like
generate
they,
pull requests, and then they'll also create alerts in other places as well now. So
yeah, it looks
good
like
stuff.
they've got their own like tab and
Yep.
everything. That's nice.
Yep.
Like it.
hmm Yes.
Speaking of GitHub, I knew you'd enjoyed this, John, because I think you brought this up before.
Yep.
Before, just as a markdown feature.
Yeah, Markdown extension. Yes. So Mermaid's a Markdown extension. What it does, it basically allows you to, I guess the best way to describe it is like think of ASCII art, but then rendering it in a very nice way. So Mermaid is a description format that allows you to describe workflow in a variety of ways. It's not just flow designs, but also like state machine designs or state design diagrams. It can be other types of diagrams, and this is all based on basically an extension format, which is called Mermaid. Now, there's a rendering aspect to this, which uses an underlying sub framework. But the large sort of summary of this is that now on GitHub, you'll be able to actually write in your Markdown these diagrams, and they'll be rendered accordingly within GitHub. This is great because no longer do you have to now go about creating images and posting them there. That wasn't really a hard problem to be honest. I mean, it wasn't really that difficult before, but now you can just keep these in source control and keep them updated rather than creating new images. And then you can articulate things like flow and other types of diagrams within your Markdown, which is great.
Yeah, I can see this being a big help for things like an ML project that you have up on GitHub,
Sure.
things like that.
Yeah, incidentally, there's a few tools. There are other extensions as well. Like there's math extensions in Markdown. There's other flow control Markdown extensions. Markdown extensions are really cool. The unfortunate thing is that not everyone renders them. It would be nice to see the ability for additional Markdown. Like we have to wait for GitHub to basically bless these extensions. So the way that you typically will utilize an extension in the case of a language is you'll use that triple backtick notation and then the language name qualifier. So you can see in that example there, they've got backtick and then mermaid. That tells the processor, hey, underneath this section is mermaid. So render it as such. You can't extend that. You can't inject something dynamically and say, hey, this is, Ed's great format, and then have it render accordingly dynamically at the moment. You have to wait for GitHub to actually integrate it. So if there's a new hot extension that comes along, you have to wait for GitHub to do that. And so that's a downside, unfortunately. But the upside is that we now have this capability in Mermaid, and GitHub has now enabled it.
Yeah. Maybe user feedback is probably going to drive more of these if there's popular ones out there.
Yeah, there are.
Just from my Twitter feed alone this morning, I found out that this was way more popular than I had thought.
Yes.
My feed was actually trending on the keyword GitHub.
Yes.
And I'm like, what, is GitHub down today?
Yes.
I'm starting my day. I'm like thinking the worst is about to happen. And I
Yes.
clicked the link and like everybody is just having a party because there
I
are
know.
workflows,
Yes.
diagrams being rendered in GitHub. I'm like, okay,
Yes.
that's a very popular thing that I thought was a little more niche than it really is.
Yes.
So yeah, looks like other people have used like Platinum and some other Stencil JS and other plugins to get this to work.
Uh-huh.
And now
Mhm.
it's included in the box with
Yes.
just a GitHub Markdown.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Mermaid's great at doing this. In fact, if you jump into the repository that's linked off of that blog post, they actually give some other examples of sort of diagrams that you can generate. So flow control is the one you're showing, but there's also sequence diagrams. There's Gantt charts as well, and other sorts of sort of diagrams that you can gen from these sorts of markdown descriptions. So yeah,
Look at
it'll be
that.
interesting to
Wow.
see. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can just kind of go in and get a little WYSIWYG example here, I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah.
That's
The one that I
pretty
like
cool.
is that, so I would imagine, and I'm just speculating here, but I would imagine that people are going to start using these in a big way on GitHub to articulate flow control, project status, Git graphs in general, things like that. So you'll start to see repos start rendering this stuff out directly.
Yeah. I gave my commentary on this today, and just so you know, I fall into this category, so please do not take offense. But
Sure. Nerds.
this was
Yes.
this was my GitHub is trending
Absolutely.
because it supports diagrams from Markdown.
Yeah, of
We
course.
are nerds, and we are celebrating our nerdiness today
Yes.
with the new feature.
Yes. So there you go.
Right. New TypeScript stuff, John.
Yeah.
What's going on in TypeScript land these days?
Oh, just another update. You know how TypeScript is. Oh, TypeScript, you fast changing animal, you. There are some interesting changes coming along in TypeScript, but nothing too groundbreaking. I mean, it's just a constant iteration. It's like VS Code. Oh, another feature set available for me to use. So, folks who are using TypeScript obviously are using it and tracking these things. RC releases tend to be pretty stable, so you can actually take a dependency on this. And the nice thing is, if you're using VS Code, you can get even nightly integration with the TypeScript compiler built in. So there's lots of ways in which you can start exploring this, but this is a summary blog that kind of articulates what's coming in the RC in 4.6. And obviously, when RC is shipped, we're really close to RTM. So if you're keen on knowing what's latest in 4.6, this would be a good blog post to check out.
Excellent. So there's a lot of new stuff coming in the .NET world as well. On the .NET Community Stand-Up, if you just simply Google .NET Community Stand-Up, Daniel Roth dropped a Blazor roadmap for .NET 7. And there was quite a bit of new stuff coming. I'm trying to see if I can jump to it. It was a blog post. There we go. There's the blog post. It's on GitHub. That's why I couldn't find it earlier. So lots of new stuff coming in .NET Core in 7, and then also Blazor features are included in all of this. So things like multi-threading is coming to Blazor. So that's kind of a really big deal. So the browsers finally support it. The last holdout, I think, was Safari. So we're going to have multi-threading in .NET 7. We're looking forward to MAUI releasing, and a new preview of that came out, which I have a blog post on as well. But if you go to the .NET Community Stand-Up from this week, you will see all of this in action. There's some samples that Dan Roth gave demos with. It's quite a huge roadmap. I mean, there's lots of stuff coming here. especially with Blazor Hybrid, which is going to be very interesting, where you're wrapping a native shell around a Blazor app, so you can use your web tech to build desktop and mobile apps. So they're hammering out things like security, pass-through, and all that type of stuff. They're working on the Razor compiler, making it more friendly with Visual Studio. I mean, this is quite the laundry list of items for .NET 7. So you can follow it here on their GitHub page, and then you can see it on the community stand-up as well. So make sure you check that out. And then along with that is the MAUI announcement. Again, I think that bulleted list goes over a lot of the same things here, but this is the actual preview being launched with the latest version of Visual Studio 2022 preview. So the improved documentation, some new components, and interactions are available with it. They're working on the templates as well, so it's shaping up. They're trying to get ready to release this in May. They still got quite a bit of work ahead of them, but it's nice to have new bits to check out and check on their progress. So make sure you grab that stuff and install it if you're doing any MAUI development or getting ready to dive into any of that.
Nice.
Let's see, we did the TypeScript stuff. Get into that in a minute. Since we're on .NET, I spotted this article, came out, looks like Sunday. DateTime Best Practices for, or in .NET C#. I don't think you can have enough of these. It's going to make me sign in. I guess this one is a gated story, so we're not going to be able to see it. Basically, what he's talking about is like how to set defaults for date and times, which date time types are better to use and are more memory performant. So I think time span was a preference over date time in general for certain situations, such as like saving the date off to SQL and serialization, all of that. So I'm not a Medium subscriber, so I'm not getting past the paywall this time. I was able to read it freely before, so I'm not sure why it's doing this to me now.
Right.
But it was a pretty good read.
So the best way to get around Medium, and I don't advocate this because obviously Medium, you want to obviously pay authors, is to go into incognito mode.
Yeah. So I was trying to, we'll do it for a minute because I'm trying to promote this for this person.
I know.
So
You don't
it
want
was
to
a
get
good
around
read.
this,
I was just trying to share with folks. But yeah, I mean, the agenda here sums it up pretty well. When to use one versus the other, what initial of values to use, which is, this one always kills me, especially when you start talking about date times from a user experience perspective.
Right.
If you have a date picker of some kind that's a drawing off of that date time, like what is the proper values to set it at? Is it going to take into account the localization features in .NET? Because if you have a report date picker and you pick the date range, you don't want that report to vary from one user to another because they're on different time zones. Because if you're picking like from date X to Y, and you're not taking those localization features into account, like it might select a time that is in a different time zone, which will actually give you different data depending on how the querying works on the back end. So there's a lot of like gotchas in there, and it's a good blog post here that kind of gets you over the hump on all this stuff. And he also links out to another fantastic author and kind of .NET leader for the community, and that's Steve Smith, or R. Dallas. He's got a link here to his blog as well, which is also on Medium. And he blogs about this type of stuff too. So if you haven't followed either of these authors before, they are excellent resources. Both Steve and Ahmad Tariq is blogging about good .NET practices. I always try to subscribe to these type of things because I'm not like the best practices guy, like Steve is the best practices guy, but I like to
Right.
make sure I'm kind of following his train of thought. He's got some really good opinions, and they kind of get you out of bad situations before they even happen. So make sure you check those guys out. John, you're a big fan of engineering blogs. That's what this looks like here.
Yes.
It's talking about the biggest mistake I see your engineers make.
Yeah. So this is actually a really good article. I like it a lot. This is basically a summary of a pattern that you see common with a lot of engineers. This is by a gentleman by the name of Zach Lloyd. He's the founder and CEO of a company called Warp, and he used to work at Google. He was co-founder and CTO of a venture-backed startup called Selfmade, and then he was an interim CTO at Time. So he's got a bit of experience looking at how engineers operate from the day-to-day basis. And one of the things that he often sees engineers do, and it's not really a fault of engineers per se. It's just basically an approach to work. One of the things that he sees often is that there's this idea that when engineers go to work on a feature or crush a bug or things of that nature, there's a huge amount of time that's spent up in the initial phase of that to basically really noodle and finding the perfect solution, et cetera, et cetera. And so what Zach's espousing here is that often comes about in negative ways. And so what basically the summary of this article is look, as an engineer, you owe it to other stakeholders in the company, your managers, other folks who need to know, your teammates, that you need to not only iterate, but you also need to communicate in an iterative fashion. You need to let people know what you're working on. Get something out early. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's better to be fast in some respects than perfect in some cases, because and you also need to make sure you communicate changes as they go along. Now, that doesn't imply that just because you're doing this, that people are going to hold you to the solution there. You're just giving people an idea, a sense of what's going on. And that really what this article really does summarize is there's a philosophy that you can adopt here, which is, look, you build an MVP, you go ahead and demo that MVP, you communicate, you build up excitement. The reason why you do these things is because no organization is an island unto itself. You have to work well with others. And in order for people to provide feedback, to champion your feature, to provide funding, and like engineers, et cetera, you need to make sure that you're doing the necessary legwork in the form of internal networking to get people on board. In addition to that, there's a good philosophy that's bound to this, which is, I made this up a while ago. There's that old phrase that like a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I've always said that, yes, that's true. A picture's worth 1,000 words and a demo's worth 1,000 pictures. So if you can build a demo and get it out there and get it into the hearts and minds of your coworkers, they're going to be much more compelled to provide feedback, to give you direction, to probably champion the idea itself. So it's all about a philosophy, a mode of operating within a company. And the reason why he says it's one of the biggest mistakes he sees is because we as engineers tend to noodle down on things very, very well. And your comic here articulates this very, very well. It's that we're too much in here and there's not enough coming out here. And there's not enough perspective that, hey, I've got to bring others along while building the solution. I think this speaks to imposter syndrome. I think a lot of engineers will say, look, I don't feel confident enough. Like if I say that I don't know what I'm doing, that's not the best way to articulate, but that's kind of what people are thinking. Then people are going to think negatively. And the reality is we're all in the same boat. A lot of us don't know what we're doing relative to the solution that we're trying to build, not to the technology. That's an aside. But oftentimes when a problem space comes about, the reason why it's a problem is it's because it's hard. And so features sometimes can be hard. And so you need to champion those ideas. You need to communicate those ideas, and you cannot sit and go what I like to call go dark. You can't go dark. You have to express and demo and do all the things necessary so that other people, like, no one's a mind reader. No one's going to know that you've got this brilliant thing happening between your ears. You need to get it out there internally, possibly externally, etc.
Yeah, I used this comic ages ago because I used to have a talk that was on the similar subject that you're talking about, but it was more from a UX perspective, where I took our organization from like building product to building prototypes first, because we would build things in a vacuum and then drop it on users within the organization, and they're like,
Yes.
and this is the new workflow because, and like,
Yes.
some of these apps just wouldn't get adopted by the end users because they weren't taken into consideration when we built the product. It's like, we knew we had a problem. We didn't talk to the people that actually had to experience the problem. We just built them a solution and gave it to them
Yep.
and expect them to just bless it, because it was supposed to help their, help them and make their job easier, which in fact it usually didn't, because we didn't include them in the conversation. So I used to use this as a kickoff as to how we were tackling problems currently. We would go down the long road of building some arbitrary system of, whatever, when we actually need to go talk to people and find out what they really needed. Like in this comic, like the guy just wants salt. Like he doesn't want all of the other condiments, right? And we had a habit of not asking the users what they wanted, just assuming they would need to boil the ocean. So
Yes.
yeah, I definitely agree with the post.
Yeah, there's an
great
expression I like, which is
XKCD.
yeah, there's an expression I like, which is communication is what the listener does. And if you think about it, it's correct. You can talk all you want, but communication doesn't happen until the listener gets involved. That's when communication happens. So if you're not communicating, if you're not telling others and no one's listening, meaning they're not mind reading, and you're not expressing this in the form of updates or demos or whatnot, no, then there's zero communication happening. And I think a lot of engineers tend to want to go to, did you read my email, my Slack message, etc. That doesn't work for everyone. You've got to demo it. You've got to put it, you got to create a video. You got to get people excited. You got to appeal. We're still humans. You got to appeal to emotions, etc., etc.
This article is from an author I recognize. What's this one, John?
Yes. Yeah, self-serving. I won't spend too long on this, but BuildKite is a really powerful. They're from some folks that we know here in Australia. From BuildKite, they're here in Australia and other places. BuildKite's one of those sort of CI platforms. They do deployment as well. So BuildKite is a solution that works really, really well, highly scalable. And what we've done is we've shipped some plugins that allow you to interoperate with Octopus Deploy. So if you want to use Octopus Deploy for your deployment, you can do that now with and use BuildKite for your builds. You can use the two together now. So the sort of peanut butter and chocolate combination. And that's what this. So we came out with a tweet yesterday for Valentine's Day. Octopus Deploy loves BuildKite. And this was sort of a love letter to them on our behalf.
Nice.
So there you go.
Very nice. Well, that's all we got, John, for today.
Yes.
Again, appreciate you coming on and sharing your opinion on these articles with me. Sorry I don't have any Doom or guys laying on a flying device to entertain you with today, but I figured The Simpsons was a good take.
No, it was good. Yeah, it's good.
Gotta have the lifelike Simpsons movie to creep everybody out. That's
I actually used a Simpsons reference in just yesterday with one of my colleagues to describe what my team does. So my team at Octopus is the integrations team. And there's this scene from the Simpsons where Mr. Burns he does a Frankenstein. He turns Homer into this robot by using Homer's brain. And there's a scene in that where he's like, "Look, Smithers, it's alive. Oh, that man at Radio Shack thought I was mad, but who's mad now?" And I'm like, that's exactly how we operate on the integrations team. We combine things together, and we try and make it all work. So
I'm going to go massively off topic here. Segue from The Simpsons. Did you see that they are rebooting Futurama for the third time?
I did, yes.
And there was a big uproar over the voicing of Bender. So I guess they didn't reach out to or didn't want to pay. I don't know which it was, the voice actor for Bender, which is like probably one of the most beloved voice actors in adult cartoons. So you're like, trying to think, Adventure Time and obviously Futurama and other cartoons like This Guy's Huge. So especially in the like Comic Con, like geek circuit.
Sure.
So people were up in arms on the Twitters again, protesting that they bring him back to the show. But I'm happy. I like Futurama. It's one of my favorites from the Simpsons universe. So glad to see it coming for third resurrection.
Awesome.
All right,
Awesome.
folks, we'll let you go for the week. We've got shows coming up here on Code It Live, so make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all those good things. And then make sure you watch for the shows that we have around. We've got MAUI shows if you're doing mobile development. We've got web shows. Alyssa was on today doing some crossover like web dev and MAUI stuff. We've got UI UX with Catherine every Monday. I mean, just lots of stuff here on this channel. So
Nice.
Stay tuned, folks.
Getting it done.
Have a good week. We'll see you soon.
See ya.